Welcome back to ARC Tutorials. This is CSS full tutorial series for absolute beginners. Rarely you will find a website which is having a lot of content and is not implementing overflow property. If you're not using overflow property, chances are the designer or the developer has missed out on some of the important design aspects. Oftentimes the content in the elements, right, when we design the pages, the content can increase, can be less, can be more, right, depending on how the behavior should be. That's what is controlled by overflow property. We are going to learn all about it in today's episode. Let's get started. This is part 19. I would also like to inform you I have other playlist on my channel on HTML, JavaScript, Angular, React, Bootstrap. I'm sure you will find them useful. Please do check them out. Coming to CSS tutorial, this is part 19 of the series. Please make sure that you have gone through the previous 18 episodes in order to master and learn CSS with me. I've covered everything from ground zero, from basic to advanced, and then we'll keep doing some live projects. Today we are talking about CSS Overflow. CSS Overflow property controls what happens to content that is too big to fit into an area. Okay, so if you have a div, if you have a particular section and the content is overflowing, what you are supposed to do with that, right? Now there are different ways, different values that this property can accept. One is visible, right? Visible means it will not do anything. It is by default. It will not be clipped. The content will render outside the elements box. Hidden. Hidden means the content will overflow and the rest of the content will be invisible because you're making it hidden. Scroll. This is where the overflow is clipped and a scroll bar is added to see the rest of the content. Auto. Auto is similar to scroll, but it adds scroll bars only when necessary. Okay, not always. That's the difference between scroll and auto. That being said, that's the basic thing that I want to cover. Let's jump right into the hands-on. In the previous episode, we did the Z index, and I'm sure you have seen this design and this tutorial. Make sure that you go through that. I'm going to create a new file, close this one, and I'm going to call it overflow.html. And as always, I'll just type. So the reason I create these individual pages is because I don't want you to get complicated or feel that it's too much work or it's complex. It's dead simple, and the only thing is patience. When working with HTML, CSS, you'll need a lot of patience that nobody tells you. Well, I'm telling you now. Okay, all right, so I'm going to throw in a paragraph and say this is a very long text about our tutorials. Okay, let's copy this multiple times. I'm not, you can even use lorem ipsum if you want, but I just added some simple thing. Okay, now for the styling, I'm going to keep it extremely simple, basic. I'll just say width 200 pixel, height also 200 pixel. Maybe we can throw in a border so we can see the visible. I'm going to use a gray shade which is DDD. Okay, so I will not add overflow now because I want you to see the default functionality first. The default functionality is visible, so we need to add some more content to increase that. So let's do that. I'm going to copy this entire paragraph again. Now maybe one more, and then you can clearly see the difference. If you see the, let me put a background color for those finding it difficult to see the border. Alright, so now you can clearly see you have a, this is my container, but the content is in exceeding the height, right? It's exceeding this particular container. Now this is the default behavior of overflow. That means it will not do anything, it will just show everything whatever is there. That's what I covered, which is visible. Okay, alternatively you can mention it like overflow visible. Okay, if you write overflow visible, or if you don't write, it's the same thing because it's by default. Okay, now let me show you overflow hidden. So now you see that whatever content can fit into this container is accepted, rest everything is clipped. Okay, it's gone, it will not be displayed. Now the next one that the next we can see option is the scroll. So what this will do is add a scroll bar to this div. Now you can see since the content length is increasing, it added a scroll bar. Okay, now the last is auto. Now what auto does is something similar. Okay, now in this case it is required because the content, the length is more, right? So it added a scroll bar. But let's say if your content is not that lengthy, see, it's not adding a scroll bar. Okay, but now if you say scroll, you see this, right? It will always add it. Okay, that's why always prefer adding overflow auto. That means it will detect if the length is more, it will add the scroll bar. If it's not, it will not add those handlebars at scroll bars at the left, bottom and the right side. Okay, so I'm putting back the content just to show you. So now you see, so there are places like say terms and conditions. If you go to Google's privacy page, you can see terms and conditions and you scroll it, right? That's one of the classic examples I can think of where you will see a scroll. Terms and conditions, which I'm sure you have never read, right? Do let me know in the comment section if any of you have ever read those terms and conditions of any company. All right. Okay, so CSS overflow property. Now you can clearly see. So let's say at the top there is a heading which says terms and conditions, right? And you can scroll and read through the terms and conditions. So that's one of the example I'm giving you, but there are a lot of use cases of overflow. A news website, content website, um, anything, blogs, or even e-commerce, right? When the description of the box increases, what you should do, etc., etc. So a lot of use cases. That's why this is an extremely important property for you to learn and master. Okay, that's overflow for you. In the next episode, I'm going to cover an extremely important topic, which is float property. If you want to ever design, you must understand float. So you cannot miss the next episode at any cost. Okay, so make sure that you join me in the next episode. That is the foundation of design, right? All right, thank you so much for joining. See you in the next episode.